Everyone on their e-commerce or dropshipping journey at some point becomes uncertain about what to do next when it comes to supply and logistics. Today, we're going to go through solutions for 3 different kinds of e-commerce entrepreneurs, depending on what stage of their journey they are on. Those getting started, those getting consistent sales, and those scaling beyond to larger order volumes. And just real quick, my name is Niall. I've been a dropshipping agent in China for around 3 years now, and I've also run my own e-commerce brands in the past. So I've been on both sides of e-commerce, and hopefully some of that experience will translate over into helping some of you break through any sticking points that you may have. If you aren't a beginner, then you can go and skip ahead. I'll leave the timestamps. And without further ado, let's get into the first phase. To be honest, if I were to start a new e-commerce or dropshipping store tomorrow, I would not be using any of these methods I'm about to tell you in this phase. But this will still benefit those of you who haven't started testing yet and looking just to get started and find out, if there's a product market fit for the product that you are interested in. And remember, the goal of this stage is just to get out of this stage as soon as you find a winning product. You're going to be using these fulfillment methods to test products, but they aren't perfect. So if it gets to the point where you have to maybe refund or partially refund the customer because they weren't happy with the shipping times, for example, then just do it. That refund may be painful now, but it's going to pale in comparison to the amount you're generating once you actually start scaling. Now, the most popular method of this phase is going to be AliExpress, although it's not necessarily the best. AliExpress is a marketplace of many sellers, a lot of whom are just dropshippers themselves from China who are selling to their customers. Some of the reasons new dropshippers use AliExpress are 1, low barrier to entry, 2, wide range of products, 3, it's relatively cheap. It's a low barrier to entry because you only have to buy 1 product at a time, and you can wait until your customers actually start placing orders before you then place the order on AliExpress. And obviously, there's a wide range of products to choose from because there are so many sellers, and it's still relatively cheap because you can mark up the prices you see on AliExpress 2, 3, 4 times, and in many cases, a Western audience will still accept the price as long as the marketing and the branding is good. But AliExpress is by no means perfect. If you do decide to use it, you're going to be dealing with slow shipping times in many cases. You might have to manually fulfill your orders. Unless you use an app such as, I think, AutoDS or DSs are apps you can use to kind of semi-auto fulfill. And another negative of AliExpress is that if you have a few products from different suppliers, then your customer who orders, say, a couple of those products may not receive them in the same package at the same time because they're coming from different suppliers. Now, if you do not want to use AliExpress, there are other platforms that you can use, such as CJ Dropshipping. Some people refer to these platforms as like dropshipping agents, but they are not. These are businesses that have customer service agents that communicate with you rather than the supplier directly communicating with you. And then they work on the back end with a bunch of suppliers in China to be able to offer a wide range of products. If you decide to go with using one of these platforms, then you will also have low barrier to entry, pretty wide range of products, often faster shipping times than AliExpress, but they're also more expensive than AliExpress. You'll be working with a customer support agent, which is debatable how much they can actually do if things start going wrong. And I have observed that for some people, products do go out of stock. Now, the final option is one that I actually took when I first started my e-commerce journey. And in my opinion, it was a big mistake. What I mean is sourcing in bulk from Alibaba. So what you could do is you can buy in bulk from Alibaba, send it to maybe your own place, and then start fulfilling yourself. Like I said, this is what I did. It's a mistake in that, you're putting a lot of capital into product that you don't know will succeed 100%. I would not go with this option, but I'm putting it out there just for those who are interested in knowing. And there are people who have become successful by just going straight from Alibaba, which takes us on to part 2. This is where it gets fun. You're about to start scaling and you need a fulfillment method that's going to support that growth. At this point, you're getting consistent sales, so you should be safe to order more product in one go, or order product in bulk, and storing it somewhere so that your orders are fulfilled in hours and not days after the customer actually places the order. The option you go with from the 2 that I'm about to go into now will partly depend on how much you actually want to invest in inventory. So if you really wanted, you could go down the route that I mentioned before, which is sourcing from Alibaba, shipping it to an in-house fulfillment center, i.e. your house, and then either fulfilling yourself or paying someone to help you fulfill, possibly a friend or family member. That way you're going to save money on fulfillment fees. The problem with this method is that one, you're going to be spending a lot more time dealing with fulfillment when you probably should be spending that time looking for ways to grow, marketing, branding, etc. And two, you're also constraining yourself to your own fulfillment capacity. If that puts you off, then you could instead go for a local 3PL. So instead of sending it to an in-house fulfillment center, you would be sending it from Alibaba, the supplier on there, directly to a local third-party logistics company, which would then fulfill your orders for you. They would send them to your customers for you. And that way, you're gonna still get the benefits of very fast delivery times to your customers, but you're not going to have to spend time filling yourself, in which case you can then spend more time on growing your business. However, this method does come with some challenges. Firstly, to make it cost effective, you're going to have to order a pretty large amount of product from Alibaba. That means that you're going to have a lot of money tied up in inventory, and you're not actually going to see a return on it until that particular product is being sent out to the customer. Additionally, you're going to have to manage your inventory by keeping an eye or monitoring product sales velocity and also lead times. By velocity, I just mean how quickly your product is selling, and by lead times, I just mean how long it takes for the product to arrive from the supplier to the 3PL. Let's say it's January 1st, you're selling sunglasses and you're selling 100 units per week. And let's also say that between production and shipping times, it takes you a month to ship the product from your supplier in bulk to your 3PL. 100 units being sold a week means 400 in a month. And let's say that at the beginning of January, you already had 400 units. So that's going to last you until the end of January, beginning of February. What do you need to do to make sure that you do not run out of stock before February? Well, if it takes you a month to get the product, you're going to have to buy another 400 in January, so that it arrives at the beginning of January, should I say, so that it arrives on time in February. So if you think about it, you've ordered 400 units a month in advance, which aren't even going to begin to be used until February, a month later. And that's for 400 units. Some people think, oh, I want to have product to last me until the end of February. So then they buy 800 units of sunglasses. And also that way, if there's a sudden spike in sales, they're not going to run out of inventory in January when they had enough product for 2 months. But that also means that there's a lot more product tied up in inventory, say if there's 2 months worth, which can cause cash flow issues for some companies. So you can see between that and having to keep track of inventory, it can become a bit of a pain in the backside. And that's not to say that businesses don't do it, because they do, but there is an alternative: working with a private agent in China. And just full disclosure, that's the business that I run. A private agent in China will not only do the job of a 3PL by storing the product in their warehouse and fulfilling, shipping it out to your customers, but if you want them to, they'll also find the product for you. The biggest downside I can think of is that the shipping times are not going to be as fast as local shipping times, but they're still pretty fast. And the great benefit is the low lead times, because it's going to take days for the product to arrive from the supplier to your agent's warehouse, not weeks. Those who've experienced managing stock outside of China in different 3PLs will know how important this is, because it means you don't have to order as much product in advance, meaning you don't have to tie up as much capital in inventory, and you're less likely to be affected by sudden changes in sales volume, because you can always get more product at a moment's notice as your agent is already in China, where all the other suppliers are situated. Now, if you want to know more about agents, I have a lot of information on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and check out the other videos I've posted in the past. And if you are looking for an agent, then I will link you in the description below. Which takes us to the final part of this video, for those of you scaling to high order volumes. The 4 options I'm going to discuss here are pretty much related to the previous section of this video, so if you've skipped to here and anything is confusing, just make sure you check the previous section. But with that said, the first option is setting up in-house fulfillment centers in each country that you're dealing with. Now, if you are already at this level, you probably don't need to be taking advice from me on the YouTube channel. There are obvious pros to this, like you'll benefit from economies of scale, and overall it's going to be a lot cheaper if you have high enough volume than using a 3PL that is not run by your own company. But you should be aware that if you are running fulfillment for yourself, that it's going to take a lot of additional resources, management, and it may just not be worth it if you're not really at that level or scale yet. So we're going to move on to the second option, which is working with 3PLs in multiple countries. Now, this is going to have the same advantages and disadvantages as in the last section, but the disadvantages are kind of doubled or tripled depending on how many extra 3PLs in extra countries you have. The pros are the same as super fast shipping times, so your customers will be happy with that. But the disadvantages are that you're going to have to manage the inventory for every single 3PL, which is again more time and resources. And you may have even more likelihood of encountering cash flow issues because you have to store product or purchase product in advance for not just one local 3PL, but multiple in different countries. So if you don't want to deal with that, you can still use a private agent in China. They're pretty versatile. You can ship pretty fast all over the world, and you don't have to tie up a lot of cash in inventory. But for those of you who want the best of both worlds, then maybe consider a hybrid model where you have a private agent in China, but also are working with a local 3PL in the country where most of your customers are. This is a great option in my eyes for multiple reasons. You can lower your risk of running out of inventory while having super fast shipping times in the country where your customer's based, while still having fast and cost-effective shipping times to the rest of the world. So in other words, your local 3PL allows for super fast shipping times to your local customers. Your agent in China allows for cost-efficient and still pretty fast shipping to the rest of the world. And if your local 3PL for whatever reason suddenly runs out of inventory, you can always fall back your agent in China who can ship the products out to your customers in whatever country the 3PL that run out of inventory is at. And finally, if this information was useful to you, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.